What's up, y'all? It's T-Tar, and today we're going to be talking about Legends Johto. There is a strong likelihood this could happen. We've been talking about this in some of my recent videos, how Game Freak's going to need a stall until the new Switch can come out. So this year, having a Legends Johto game or something ILCA makes is likely so that they can work on their more important games for the new Switch in the meantime. And Johto also lines up with something Ku put in one of his teasers. It's one of the 4 regions in his predictions, and if you ask me, Johto is a gold mine for a Legends game. There is the whole Burn Tower incident, which happened 150 years ago, and this is pretty much the exact same time that Pokemon Legends Arceus takes place. So that's a big opportunity to just telling us a story across multiple regions in this same era. So in the same time that these Arceus events are happening, this could be happening in Johto. And so if we get Legends Johto, one big thing is, would Ho-Oh and Lugia get new forms? It's been almost 25 years since Lugia and Ho-Oh were introduced. When Pokemon Sun and Moon first came out, we thought they were the mascots of them. So it's kind of weird to think, would Game Freak actually give attention to Ho-Oh and Lugia like that? Do they care? And I think the answer is, if Legends Johto does happen, it's likely that Ho-Oh and Lugia would get new forms, because Game Freak's gotta market these games. Whether they care about Lugia and Ho-Oh to that extent or not, they gotta market the games. So they'd either put them on the covers like we had Primal Kyogre and Groudon, or they put something else on the covers, especially if it's just one game, whatever it's titled, Pokemon Legends Celebi or something. That's for a different video. And we discover Ho-Oh and Lugia's new forms, but hidden from the hype season. So I put together some thoughts, if I worked at Game Freak, how I would make these Lugia and Ho-Oh forms happen. So you see, Lugia and Ho-Oh, the way they're worshipped right now, think about how when we're playing the Johto games that we have to summon Lugia and Ho-Oh, which means the traditions Johto used to follow worshipping Lugia and Ho-Oh, the two Pokemon have grown distant from the Johto region. You had to summon Ho-Oh on top of the tower making the Kimono Girls dance, and deep by the waterfall for Lugia making the Kimono Girls dance. They're very distant in the modern day. So you can put an interesting godlike twist on Lugia and Ho-Oh, where back then you imagine they used to live alongside the people, and that they had these stronger forms drawing on the strength of the people. And so if I were to give names to these forms, just as we had Primal for the Hoenn ones and Origin for the Sinnoh legendaries, I would call these something like venerated forms, or since that's a weird word, like worshipped forms. So worshipped form for Ho-Oh and Lugia, the stronger form for them. If I were to give a couple other names, because we have the god theme for Ho-Oh and Lugia, you could call them the divine form. So Lugia, normal form, divine form, kind of like origin form, altered form for the Sinnoh ones, and also for Ho-Oh, normal form, divine form. And so first I'm gonna talk about appearances. I think this is the funnest part to start with first. We'll start with base stats, all right, because this is what Pokemon would do. Let's just get this out of the way first. Ho-Oh and Lugia right now have 680 BST, which is massive. What is that? Kyogre and Groudon are 670. Rayquaza, as the leader of them, who puts them in their place, is 680. Ho-Oh and Lugia are just 680 off the bat. It would be fun if they hit 780, just like when you Mega Evolve, as Mewtwo did. But we gotta think realistic to how Game Freak would do it. So I think, even though it doesn't make sense in their divine forms or worshipped forms, they would hit 700 BST, which is around where Terrapagus is. You just gotta allow it. In game, the stats don't really have to make that much sense. Also, when it comes to the Sinnoh legendaries, Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina have the exact same stats, whether origin or altered. I know that's how they were back in Platinum, so they just kept that trend, but they really should have gotten strong. They should have at least hit 700. It's weird. All right, let's talk about appearances for Divine Ho-Oh and Lugia. So for Ho-Oh's divine form or worshipped form, it would get a more graceful appearance. It might even get the 360 rainbow behind it. Y'all ever see those rainbows from high up? You can see the whole halo. It would have that halo constantly behind it, which is a cool thing that is shown in mythology. When depicting gods, they show the sun behind their heads to make them look divine. So you can imagine this divine form of Ho-Oh, when it's flying in the sky, it has like the rainbow halo behind it to just give it that otherworldly divine look. Its wings might turn into the actual rainbow, so the different colors rather than just like the 2 or 3 colors that Ho-Oh has right now. Or you could turn it into a full phoenix form, where instead of the wings, it now has fiery wings. It's more blazing, but just for the sake of this, I think instead of the fiery look, its wingspan should just have the different rainbow colors on it, so it doesn't look dangerous. It just looks divine. You know, it looks like something you could worship and not fear if you stay on its good side. So that's Ho-Oh, divine Ho-Oh. Now for divine Lugia, it's the opposite approach. This thing would turn into a monster, look terrifying. It would look straight up like a mega evolution. Longer fangs, jagged wings, darker tones on its body. There's this dichotomy between Ho-Oh and Lugia where Ho-Oh is a god, but Lugia, it's just a monster. It's for some reason, it's just a monster that they decided to worship. And now they have towers for both of them, but they're not the same. Ho-Oh is divine, Lugia isn't. We could call them both worshipped forms, but the truth is Lugia is just this deep sea monster that they are worshipping. So I would want, if they both got new forms, that it splits them apart even more. And Ho-Oh keeps a divine look while Lugia looks like a terrifying creature. This is also why I don't want Ho-Oh to get the whole flaming phoenix look, because I want that whole dangerous aspect to go to Lugia. So either these work kind of like the primal forms where this is what they originally looked like and this is what the people first witnessed and worshipped and then made the towers for, or like I said before, it's the forms they got after living alongside the people and growing stronger like a god. I guess the best example I can give for this is Calyrex, right? Calyrex grows stronger the more people worship it. When people forgot about Calyrex, no, it got weak. Now for typings. As boring as this may sound, I think they would keep the same typings. Ho-Oh would be fire flying, Lugia would be flying psychic. You could say, hey, make Lugia water here, but Lugia, we'll touch on this in a moment, Lugia was never a water bender. It just for some reason lived under the water, but it never really needed to wield the water like that. But what you could do if you wanted to make them look pure godly is you could make them both single typed. So Ho-Oh would be pure fire, like a literal divine ball of fire, even though I wanted to give it a majestic look. And then Lugia would be like pure psychic or pure flying. We'll talk more about the fun typings later, but then there's the signature moves. Now, Ho-Oh and Lugia currently have a signature move each. Ho-Oh has Sacred Fire, Lugia has Aeroblast. Sacred Fire has been like blessed to Entei, so it can use it as well. I'm gonna say they both get one new signature move. So let's start with Ho-Oh. I think Ho-Oh should get a signature move where you can revive a Pokemon in your party that's fainted. They pretty much gave this as a brand new move to Palmont, where it could literally electrify a Pokemon back to life and give it 1 HP. Ho-Oh, the regenerating Phoenix Pokemon, 100% should be getting this move as well. It could get an OP version of the move. It could just be called Phoenix Blessing, something like that. It's 1 PP, but it's an OP version. Yeah, you can make it something like it revives a Pokemon that's fainted and also restores half of Ho-Oh's health. So it'd be banned from competitive play, but it's just to give Ho-Oh a legendary version of that move. It should get this. Lugia's move, on the other hand, I made Ho-Oh's more of, again, divine, like it's being protective, to give Lugia a more offensive one. This would just be like an alternative to Aeroblast. Unfortunately, flying is the best typing to make Lugia's signature move. I was thinking like this 100 damage flying move that summons the drizzle if you use the move, so that it summons the storm that is spoken about in its Pokédex entries. This is the thing with Lugia. There's a lot of water tied to it, but what it's really doing is flapping its wings, and it's so powerful, it's creating these giant hurricanes. And then it also, I guess it can breathe underwater, so it hangs out there. But I think a flying move that summons the rain is actually perfect for it, and it can also allow it, after it summons the rain, to use stronger water moves. So through that loophole, you can kind of get Lugia to be a water-bending Pokemon. I would make it a psychic signature move just because it already has Aeroblast. What are we going to do with 2 flying signature moves? But psychic just doesn't work as well for Lugia with what we know. I don't know why specifically Lugia is a psychic type. I think it just has a lot of latent potential. But especially if you look at its Pokédex entries, it never really talks about where that psychic power comes from. Everything about Lugia is talking about how devastating its physical power is. Or, you know, I suppose, this would be a weird twist. I suppose, because we don't want to give it another flying move, it's really weird to give it Aeroblast and another signature flying move. You could give it, while it's a psychic flying type, a signature water move that summons the rain. Okay, so for Ho-Oh's move, it'd be a fire status move that revives a fainted Pokemon. We could call it something like Rainbow Blessing. So for Lugia, it would be this brutal water move that does like 100 damage and summons the rain. You could call it like Silver Storm. So Rainbow Blessing, Silver Storm, it's to put a spin on their wings. You know how in the Johto games you find the rainbow wing and the silver wing? That theme of rainbow and silver is never really expanded upon in the games. In fact, Lugia is just called the diving Pokemon, not even like the silver Pokemon. So it'd be cool to bring out the meaning of those wings in their signature moves like that. So Rainbow Blessing, Silver Storm, something like that. I guess 100 damage special water move that summons the rain would be insane. That might be perfect for Lugia. Water and fire is also a nice counter to each other. Or if you don't want to use divine, you could call it the rainbow form and the silver form. So that when you find the rainbow and silver wings in the normal Johto games, those actually fell off their divine forms, their super forms. And you're using a piece of their stronger forms to then summon them back using the ritual. It works. And then we get to their abilities. This video has gone on long enough. I have a bunch of ideas for its abilities, but I want to hear what y'all think. What is an ability you would give to Divine Ho-Oh and Divine Lugia based off the description I gave here? I know y'all could come up with some good ideas, but that's pretty much what I think should happen in Legends Johto. This would be at the very end of the game. I said in a previous video what I think the story for Legends Johto should be, but pretty much at the end of that, we would see Ho-Oh or Lugia in their divine forms, just like Origin, Dialga, and Palkia, and you'd have to calm it down or something and then capture it. But that would be an amazing climax to these Johto games, especially if Pokemon can hide it from the hype season. After almost 25 years, to give these two a new form that cements them as these godly Pokemon from back then. You know, Pokemon Game Freak, they're a Japan-based game studio, right? They obviously have a soft spot for Japan. Johto has those Japanese traditions to it. It's been a long time coming to actually give Lugia and Ho-Oh something meaningful like this. But yeah, this is just my own personal theory. Make sure to shank that like button. And there are 7 weeks, my dudes, until Pokemon Day, where whatever is gonna happen this year will be announced. Let's see if it's Legends Johto, a Crystal remake. We have a lot of ideas to talk about here, so I'll see you on the next one. Take care.